Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'd like to paint a picture, and I think this resonates a lot with what Dr. Stewart talked about earlier. So back in 2019, I'm standing on an offshore deep water oil rig in West Africa. I'm wearing full PPE, or rather, it is wearing me because it was pretty oversized, like you mentioned. And I'm surrounded by engineers, technicians, and supervisors. And I suddenly realized that I'm the only woman on that shift. Again, not the first time, and probably won't be the last. No one says anything, no one is openly hostile, but there's a quiet awareness that I'm sort of maybe out of place. Not because I lack competence, but because the system was not really designed with someone like me in mind. So, I mean, he mentioned issues with changing rooms and washrooms, and that was a very clear issue for me while I was there several times on different installations. So that moment and many like it, I'd say have shaped how I understand EDI far more than any policy document ever could. So I'm Cristabel Ofori-atta. I'm a senior modeling analyst at Energy Systems Catapult, and I work on driving net zero energy innovation and I mean, using a whole systems approach to deliver real world impact. I mean, earlier I was talking about being on an oil rig, and now I'm here talking about net zero, I guess, like the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, the only constant in life is change. And I did change careers. Um, I'm also here today representing Energyz Black, which is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to creating a transformative community where Black and minority ethnic professionals in the energy sector can thrive, lead, and fully contribute to the industry's growth and innovation. Um, I was born and raised in Ghana, where I studied petrochemical engineering for my undergraduate degree. After graduating, I worked in the upstream oil and gas industry, like I said earlier, in Ghana, Nigeria, and other parts of West Africa. Whether it was in university lecture halls or on offshore installations, I guess one thing was consistent. I was usually the only woman or one of very few in the room. So later, I moved to the UK to pursue a master's in sustainable energy futures at Imperial College London. And I suppose that experience was very transformative for me. I learned alongside people from over 20 nationalities. I got exposed to ideas and perspectives that completely expanded how I thought about energy, sustainability, and impact. But alongside that growth came unspoken barriers. I was African in the first place. I was new to the UK system. I didn't always know how the research spaces worked, the informal rules, the networks, the confidence codes, all of that. And I guess there was also that constant risk of imposter syndrome, feeling that if I fell behind slightly, I might confirm someone else's unspoken doubts. So I worked harder, spoke less, observed more, tried to earn my place repeatedly. And this is important. None of this was written down anywhere, but I suppose some or many of you in this room will recognize it immediately. I guess what changed things for me wasn't a single opportunity. It was support in the form of networks, mentorship, visibility, initiatives like this and other EDI initiatives, and also seeing people who looked like me succeed. And so this is where Energyz Black became pivotal. To put this in context, Black people make up just over 4% of the UK population, but only around 2% of the UK energy workforce identifies as Black. And even fewer are in technical or leadership roles. So when you find yourself in these spaces, isolation isn't accidental. It feels a bit more structural. So Energyz Black isn't just a networking group. I find that it's a place where I don't have to explain myself, where ambition isn't seen as too much, where my lived experiences is treated as insight and not bias. And I guess it helped shift something fundamental for me. And I started to think from, do I belong here, to how do I lead here? This confidence has pushed me to make myself visible wherever I go, speak up in spaces I otherwise would have been afraid to speak up some years ago, like here, take on various leadership roles and just pursue impact without constantly justifying my presence. And I'd say that my story isn't exactly unique. I'm sure there are a couple of people in this room and also in the Energyz Black community that share remarkably similar experiences. I guess now I want to talk about briefly about allyship, especially in research spaces. Recently, I watched a Netflix TV show called One Day at a Time, and it depicts the typical life of a Cuban family living in the US. In one episode, one of the characters is accepted into a renowned writing program. She's absolutely thrilled and excited until she reads this line in her acceptance letter describing her as a diversity candidate. Suddenly, the achievement feels conditional. Would she have been accepted on merit alone? That was the question. So that moment captures something important. Inclusion isn't about helping underrepresented people fit into existing systems. It's about reshaping systems so fewer people are excluded in the first place. One of the most impactful things an ally can do in research is not to create more EDI panels, but to ask who isn't in the room and why. And then be willing to change the structures that answer that question. I work in energy and energy modeling and sustainability today, but my journey into the space wasn't exactly linear and certainly wasn't neutral. I'm at Energy Systems Catapult today because one recruiting manager called Rob Stent noticed my capabilities and took a chance in me. And he was backed by a culture in the company that genuinely values diversity of thought and experience. So I'm here today not just because I worked hard, but because someone also made a space for me. So I guess the real question for all of us is, how do we make that the norm rather than the exception? If we want truly inclusive research cultures, then representation, networks, allyship, and systems change must move together, not separately. And so that is why we really appreciate initiatives like this, and also like what Dr. Stewart was talking about. And we hope that someday we can shape a future that shows the diversity and richness of everyone in the energy workplace. Thank you.